will say this. We know Shedeur Sanders wanted to start. He wants to be a starting quarterback, and here's what he said about finally getting some of that spotlight.
Fans have a lot of expectations and hope, and I would be doing a disservice to myself and disservice to the organization if I didn't feel like I am the guy. I did everything I need to. I'm doing everything I need to prepare to be the best version of myself as possible. With the circumstances, everything got to be sped up, and that's great. You know, I like pressure in life. I'm just excited for everything. So, you know, I feel like I'm the guy. I know I'm the guy, but, you know, you just have to be able to see. The game got to speak.
All right. Long, deep breath. I feel like I'm trying to read into this without rolling my eyes at first, because I think when people talk and there's already a narrative on them, it's hard not to apply that to what they're saying here. Did you have trouble listening to this and be like, all right, we know you're the guy. Like, you don't have to say it 17 times. How about you say, I'm just going to go out there and be prepared, and I'm excited, you know, for this opportunity?
Nah, I didn't really have a problem with that. I think there's like a weird back and forth between him and Dylan Gabriel where it kind of feels like Gabriel's been taking shots at him. So it feels like he was then taking shots. Yeah, just some sly shots at Dylan Gabriel. I don't know what their actual relationship is, but that to me, I wasn't bothered by anything that he said, but now has to go out there and prove it. Like, you just can't be doing this, I'm the guy, I'm the guy, I'm the guy, and then go out there and look like just a guy. You have to now look like the guy, especially against a defense in Las Vegas that is not good. So, like, you kind of get everything that you're hoping for Shedeur Sanders on a silver platter. You get all of the reps. That's very important, as we've learned this week. You're going to get all the reps. You're going up against a defense that's not very good, and you play with a defense that's very good, and you're going up against an offense that's not very good. So, like, you really don't have to do a ton to come away with a win. I got to figure that if Cleveland gets to 21 points, they're going to win this football game. But you got to get them to 21 points. And there are not going to be as many excuses this week as there were this past weekend where he went 4-16. As much as Jacina Anderson was giving us all of the excuses on Twitter. The back against the wall, he makes a big throw where it was Jerry Jeudy making three guys miss. Or the Shedeur Sanders with no reps just threw his first interception. Like, thank you for that. We don't need the extra commentary. He's a rookie quarterback. He's going to look like a rookie against Las Vegas. But can he do enough good to justify giving him this opportunity to play against the Raiders? And a lot of that is going to come onto coaching as well, Chelsa. Get him out of the pocket. He excels when he's on the move, as most young quarterbacks do. It allows them to play a little bit of backyard football, but also to not have a guy like Max Crosby breathing down his neck. Move the pocket, get him out there on the outside, and then honestly just let him rip it. You're the Cleveland Browns. You suck anyway, so like you might as well just see if he has an arm at the NFL level and push the ball down the field.
Yeah, I think it's all about like simplifying the game plan. Like, don't try to do too much. Like, I understand you want to see some of the flashes of him getting the ball down the field. But I do think he's not in a terrible spot, which is crazy to say about a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns when there has been very little success at that position in the last 25 years. But you're right. Like, you look at Kevin Stefanski, and I understand there's been this like weird narrative of, you know, Cam Newton saying that Kevin Stefanski is against Shedeur Sanders and all this nonsense. But you've got to remember, like, he's been a coach of the year, and he has taken Joe Flacco to the playoffs. And, like, no offense to Joe Flacco in year whatever it was when he was the comeback player of the year, because obviously Joe Flacco deserves some credit for that himself. But I'm saying, like, you don't get to that spot without a head coach that puts you in those positions. So Stefanski, I think, deserves some credit here. I do think he will try to make the best game plan for Shedeur here. I don't think he has any negative feelings. At the end of the day, coaches want to win games. So I just think that any type of negative feelings that Kevin Stefanski might feel in his heart of hearts against Shedeur Sanders is outweighed by the fact that this team needs to win games. Maybe not at this juncture of the season, because now you're just thinking about the future. But I do think there are some good pieces around Shedeur. Like you said, it's a good defense. And against the Raiders, like this is one of the three worst teams in the NFL. So you couldn't ask for a much better matchup when it comes to a defense, but it's also 2 games in. So like I'm not thinking about Shedeur Sanders absolutely lighting it up. I think if he has a decent day where he limits the turnovers and he limits the really bad plays, because that's the difference in college. I feel like is some of these college quarterbacks, they can scramble backwards for 15 yards and like, all right, bad play, whatever. In the NFL, you can't have that. So I feel like those are the plays that Shedeur has to work on. And again, it's going to be a steep learning curve because, again, it's just his second NFL start.
Yeah, he needs to scramble out, not back. At Colorado,
Right.
there was a lot of back. And he does the thing where he flips his back to the defense to try and, like, do a bootleg as you've already taken a 5 or 7 step drop, which is not an effective plan. You can get away with that when you're playing respectfully like a Cincinnati, a Kansas State, where they have a couple of guys that are Sunday players, but not everybody is a Sunday player. Well, now you're going up against everyone who's a Sunday player. And it would not be in the best interest of Shedeur Sanders to start turning his back to a guy like Max Crosby. Not smart. Not a very effective way of trying to win. I hated that Cam Newton comment, by the way. Like I've kind of been a fan of Cam Newton as he's made that transition into media prior to him jumping on these Embrace debate shows, because every time somebody jumps on an Embrace debate show, their credibility takes like a massive, massive fall. And it's just the nature of the show. You got to say some dummy things, but that felt like a dummy thing. You know, he should know better. Kevin Stefanski can feel, one, whatever he wants about Shedeur Sanders, but you're not splitting reps in November in practice. And it felt like that's what he was getting at. And as a guy that's been on many NFL rosters, both as a starter and a backup, you should know that you are not splitting reps. So Shedeur coming in, that's his responsibility to be taking mental reps when he's at practice. It's something that Tom Brady says all the time. Drew Brees has said it all the time. Peyton Manning has said it all the time. It feels like every time that Peyton Manning is doing the Manning cast and they have a quarterback come on, Stafford, Russell Wilson, like whoever comes on the Manning cast, mental reps always comes up in that conversation. And not to say that Shedeur Sanders was not taking mental reps, but to then be trying to undercut Stefanski, who, as you mentioned, got Joe Flacco to the playoffs at like 39 years old. They literally had to change the way that you vote on the comeback player of the year. The NFL sent a memo out after that saying, hey, you can't just vote for a guy because he's old. Kevin Stefanski made them change the way you vote on the award with what he did with Joe Flacco. He's a great offensive mind. I think with a full week, you'll see that Shedeur Sanders is going to look way more comfortable. I just did not love that comment by Cam Newton.
Well, it just didn't make a lot of sense. And even when you go back to like reps, even when there is not any type of a quarterback controversy, wasn't this a big deal when Tom Brady was playing and he was like making a stink? They're like, no, Jimmy Garoppolo's not getting any of my reps. Like, do you remember that? I don't know if that was like a rumor, but like it was a big deal to Tom Brady. So it's one of those things where like it's just not normal to split the reps like that. And Cam Newton should know better. But talking about this line, do you have any faith in the Browns now? Now getting 4 points against one of the, but then it's one of the worst teams in the NFL. Like if there's a team that the Browns can keep it close with, it's the Raiders.
It is the Raiders, but my fear is, Chelsea, that everyone and their mother is going to jump on the Browns because of Shedeur. So I would rather, one, I'm not going to take a side in this one, period. Look, the NFL slate is not great this weekend, but it's not bad to the point where I feel like I need to bet on the Browns and Raiders. Like I can still find some other value of this weekend. I would just look at some props. I'd look at maybe some Ashton Genty props. If I can get like a Myles Garrett sack prop, maybe a Quidshot Junkins prop. I don't know that I'd bet any wide receiver props for Cleveland. Probably just hold on that. I need to see him with a full week of preparation. Like what we saw against Baltimore, who is also not a very good defense, was that because he had no reps, or is he just not very good? Because that's still very much a possibility that he's just not that good.
I would be careful on props too, just because the total on this one keeps sinking. I don't love betting on props unless it's unders when we're talking about a total of 36. So I think the total is a strong play. Again, I have the Browns in a teaser because I don't think that the Raiders are going to win by, what, 10 points? I don't see a blowout. So I think there's other options, but it's not going to be a side. It's not going to be Prowse for me.